Hey, what's up guys? It's Foster, and tonight we're working on my race car. I've got some track prep to do for an upcoming event, and for those of you who are new to the channel, this is my 2003 Honda S2000. So the plan for tonight is to get my test pipe fixed because I actually cracked it at the last event. I'll tell you a little bit more about that later. I'm also going to try and adjust the sway bar so I can dial out some of that understeer that I had before my next track day, and I'm going to try and get rid of a pesky check engine light that's been driving me crazy. But while I'm at it, I figure I might as well give you guys a full walk around of the car and tell you a little bit more about some of the mods that it has. So this is an AP1, it's a 2003, and it's got the 2-liter engine which revs all the way to 9K. The AP1s are a little bit more of the pure S2000 versus the later AP2s, had the traction control and a couple other features that the AP1s never got. I know some of you guys are gonna disagree with me, but that's how I feel about it. And I've had this car since college, believe it or not, so I've owned it for about 10 years. It used to be a daily driver, and then it became more of a weekend car, and finally, as you can see, it's a dedicated track car. So let's start in the front and I'll go over some of the parts that it's got. The first thing you'll see is it's got AP2 headlights. I did that because I think it really modernizes the look of the S2000s. I'm not a huge fan of the amber headlights that the stock AP1 S2000s get here in the US. The other thing that you'll see is it's got a Blade Sports front bumper on it, and that has an integrated CR lip as well as a flat bottom, which is really nice because it mates really well to my Racebred splitter. This is the 3-inch Racebred splitter, and I'm a huge fan of it because it's really easy to get it on and off. So if for some reason my car doesn't fit on the trailer, I can easily pop my front splitter off with the quick release that it's got, and it's really not a big deal getting that thing on and off. I've also got a front tow hook here from Racing, and I really like the quality of their products as well. Luckily, I haven't needed it at any track days yet, but you do have to have a tow hook at most run groups and track days, so it's always good to have one of those. And then you'll also notice I've got the track spec hood vents here, and I actually installed these on my YouTube channel, so if you guys want to watch me cut up my stock hood, I'll put a link in the video up above where you guys can watch the full install on that. For wheels and tires, I'm running Wedssport TC105X wheels in a 17x9 plus 49 offset fitment, and these are one of the lightest wheels you can get, and they decrease your rotational mass, so that's the reason why I went with this spec. Down the road I might switch to a 9.5 or even a 10-inch wide wheel just to give the tires a bit more stretch. For tires, I'm running Falken RT660s. These are the spec tires in the Grid Life Club TR series, so it's as big of a tire as you can run with my car. And then behind the wheels and tires, you can see I've got a Stoptech C43 big brake kit. And I went with this brake kit for a couple different reasons. The first is it does reduce some unsprung weight, and that's always a good thing to have. In addition, it also doesn't go through rotors like the stock S2000s do, and I was tired of replacing my rotors every couple events, and I've actually been really happy with this big brake kit because I haven't cracked a rotor yet, so that's definitely a plus. Couple more mods on the side of the car I did to save some weight and get some aerodynamic benefits. The first are these carbon fiber mirrors, and I'm not really sure how much of a difference they make aerodynamically, but they do save about 1.5 pounds of weight savings per side compared to the power mirrors. And surprisingly, they're pretty usable too. I can actually see cars pretty well on the track, so I'm happy about that. This is a Forbidden USA hard top with the carbon fiber sides, and I actually wrapped this in a previous YouTube video, so if you guys want to see me wrap this carbon fiber hard top, I'll put a link in this video where you guys can go check that out. And then I've got the Jay's Racing style side skirts, and I did that because I think that makes a small difference aerodynamically, but they also just look really cool as well. All right, the booty. You can't miss this big wing that I got on the S2000, but I'm really happy I went with it because before I installed this, the car was really loose on the track, and now that I've got this rear Aero package, it's way more stable and it's way more confidence inspiring. So for the wing itself, I've got an APR 2D wing, and I'm pretty happy with this. Kevin sold it to me for a pretty good deal. And then for the chassis mount, I've got a 9 Lives chassis mount kit. And this thing's absolutely awesome. It's actually welded to the frame of the car. You can bolt it in if you want. But if you're going for the track car, you might as well go all in, I figured. And we did have to cut some holes in the trunk. But in terms of how it feels on the track, it made a huge difference. I've been shaving on average of 4 to 7 seconds at every track I go to this season. So the Aero package I put on this car definitely helps. And then after you set at personal best, You get to have a nice cold beverage with your integrated beer opener on that 9 Lives kit there. So I really like that 9 Lives chassis mount kit. And then also some additional Aero things I did to the back. I cut the rear bumper to reduce drag, reduce that parachuting effect. And then of course, Grid Life gets mad if you don't have a rear tow hook, so I've got a rear tow hook as well. Reliability is the name of the game under the hood, so you're not gonna see too many mods here on my S2000, but one thing I did do is add an anti-gravity battery, and that took about 20 pounds out of the car, which I was really impressed with. The other thing I did is I got the valve cover painted Cusco blue to match the theme of the rest of the build. And while I was at it, I also got it baffled too, so that I don't have oil blow-by issues where I'm blowing white clouds of smoke on high-speed corners. Speaking of issues I've had with this car, I've got an oil filter stopper, and that's because last season my car actually caught on fire from my oil filter backing off and getting oil on the headers, which resulted in a really bad fire at Road America. So after learning my lesson the first time, I've decided to get the oil filter stopper on this car. And so since I've had it installed, I haven't had any issues. Other than that, I've got an air intake filter from AFE. Probably doesn't add any power, but mine was due for replacement anyway. And that's really it. I mean, this car's still got AC, it's still got all of the factory equipment on it, so I haven't done too many modifications, but it's been really reliable, which has been great because I've been able to show up at events and focus on driving instead of working on my car. Hopping under the car, I've done most of the chassis upgrades that track owners do for their S2000s, including coilover suspension. These are the Feal 441 Pluses, which means they've got the upgraded Swift springs, which I highly recommend, and my spring rates are 14K front and 12K rear. Then in addition, I have Megan Racing tow arms, and that's because the AP1s suffer from the toe changing under braking, which makes the rear end really unstable. It was later updated for the AP2 models, but if you guys have an AP1, I'd highly recommend getting some tow arms. In terms of exhaust mods, I've got a T1R exhaust, which is one of the lightest stainless steel exhausts you can get that doesn't completely break the bank like the titanium systems do. And then I have a Tomei test pipe, as well as the factory header that's been ceramic coated. Moving to the front of the car, I've done some more mods to help with suspension geometry, including the Hardrace lower ball joints, which are also the roll center adjusters. In addition, I also have the Blox bump steer kit, which helps with the suspension geometry. And I've got an Eibach upgraded front sway bar to top it all off, and that's gonna help reduce some oversteer because it's a much more beefy sway bar. In terms of the interior, I kept it really simple. I want this car to still be streetable, so I left a lot of the interior, but I also want it to be safe when I'm out on track, so I added a Rockstar Garage 4-point roll bar, and it's got the harness bar as well. I've got these Cusco 6-point harnesses for both the passenger and the driver's seat, as well as a matching set of Reacaro pole position seats. That's pretty much it. I've still got my airbags and a lot of weight in this car that I could probably take out down the road, but for right now, the focus is on getting seat time. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this brief overview of my Honda S2000 build. I'll try and put part links in the description down below where you guys can find most of the parts that I use on this car. I apologize in advance if I don't get all the links in there for you guys. But with that being said, let's go ahead and keep working on the projects that we got scheduled for tonight. So I got the S2000 up in the air, and first things first, I'll show you guys what I'm working on. We got no test pipes, Ted.
Let me ask you a question, Ted. Do you see anything wrong here?
So, as you can see, the test pipe is missing, and that's because at the last track day, I actually cracked it somehow. And so I sent it off to a buddy of mine, Eric at EFAB. He's helping me out. He's welding this titanium test pipe for me. So I'm gonna go pick it up now, and then we'll get it installed on the car. Hello. So this is Eric from EFAB, and he's actually the guy welding my test pipe for the S2000. You guys probably recognize this smart car. It was on that Dude in Blues channel. It's called the Milk Jug, I believe. This thing absolutely rips, and I have a feeling you're getting it ready for Ice Cream Cruise, is that right? Yeah, so Ice Cream Cruise is this weekend. It's at Raceway Park of the Midlands, and they're gonna do a bunch of roll racing. So Eric's taking the smart car out, and I think he's definitely gonna surprise some people when he gives this thing a rip. Here is my Tomei test pipe for the S2000, and right here you can see the spot where it cracked. It actually had a really big crack in it. And so Eric fabricated it up, and he actually had to back purge it when he was TIG welding. That way to make sure that there's no impurities and this weld's gonna actually be strong. And it looks really nice too, so I think he did a great job. Let's take this back to the shop and put it in the car. So the next project I got planned for the S2000 is to remove a pesky check engine light. Ever since I deleted the secondary air pump, which lives underneath the driver's side headlight here, I've had a check engine light code on the S2000, and it's rather annoying because I don't know if I have any new check engine light codes due to the fact that the light's always on, so I'd like to fix that problem tonight. I ordered a secondary air pump emulator from Wedssport, and that's what this is, and it comes with a wiring diagram. So in case any of you guys have S2000s, for the 2003 AP1, the ECU is underneath the dash on the driver's side. So luckily it was pretty accessible. It wasn't too bad tearing things apart to access the ECU. Now we just have to do the scary part, which is splicing into the ECU. Makes me a little nervous, so I'm glad I got Kevin here today to help me out with it.
We have to locate 3 different connectors coming out of the ECU. I think we've found them. There's a 32 pin connector, and then there's a blue 31 pin, and then there's another 22 pin underneath that's not actually connected to the ECU, but in the same area. We've got everything unplugged, so I think now we have to just find the right wires and start splicing. We've got all the wires located and unsheathed, so we just need to grab the emulator and get everything hooked up, and we do need to find a ground as well, but that should be easy. And then we'll test it out, and hopefully that check engine light is gone.
So I bought this ECU emulator because it's a quick fix to take care of the check engine light, but long term I do plan on getting an aftermarket ECU. I know there's a couple different options for the S2000. The AEM Infinity is definitely one high on my list, but once you have an aftermarket ECU like that, it's fully programmable and you can delete check engine lights and stuff like that. So this is temporarily going to be the solution using the stock ECU with this piggyback emulator, but down the road I am planning on upgrading. It actually worked. There's no check engine light on the dash. Might have to give it a couple 100 miles though, and we'll see if it stays that way, but for right now I think we're good. This might not be the proper way to do it, but I'm using a hoist to put a little bit of load on the front suspension, and that way everything's going to be in the right position when I tighten the sway bar down. All right, well, I hope you guys liked watching me work on the S2000 tonight, and I hope you liked watching the build breakdown where I kind of walked you around and showed you my full S2000 track build. I personally love this car, and I can't wait to keep transforming it until it becomes an epic time attack car. So if you guys like watching the content, give me a like and hit that subscribe button, because I'll probably have a bunch more S2000 videos amongst all my other build videos that I'm doing on this channel, and so you're not going to want to miss out on any of that. With that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.